Cyberpunk is set in a metropolis of the future, where body modification has become an obsession. You play as an outlaw, an enhanced mercenary working in the sleazy underbelly of the city. The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking.
What have you done? Finished it.
Seven years in the making, it's finally here. You think I have to give you reasons to play this game? I can't find reasons not to play this game. If you're a gamer and you haven't heard of Cyberpunk 2077, then it's confirmed. You've actually been living under a rock. Cyberpunk is the most anticipated game of this decade, if not all time. The hype around this game was gargantuan in scale. Everyone jumped in, even other game developers.
If you're waiting for the biggest game of the year, then wait for Cyberpunk.
When they revealed that 48-minute gameplay back in 2018, everyone collectively lost their minds, me included. If that didn't get everyone on board, they went ahead and announced this.
Wake the up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
सेक्स करना चाहता हूँ तुम्हारे साथ।
The neo-noir cyberpunk aesthetic, futuristic technology with a dash of the 80s, all mixed with an open-world first-person action-adventure formula from the developers of the Witcher series. I can't believe this game exists. That's how impressive it is. I don't think I need to explain any further on what makes Cyberpunk special, because games like this only come out once a decade. This is the first time as a reviewer and a gamer that I've come across a game that's so massive and covers so many aspects. For most games, if one aspect is mishandled or removed, the whole game falls out of balance. But Cyberpunk's sheer scale allows it to transcend this. For Cyberpunk, even if several aspects of the games are flawed, it doesn't matter. There's 100 more things to do. It's literally too big to fail. And that's the mindset I want you to keep while watching this review. From the 50-ish hours I've played so far, I can say without a doubt, Cyberpunk is a great game. But it's not a perfect game. Personally, I was anticipating this game for very long. Maybe even too long. Every time I'd mark my calendar and set up a sick leave, CD Projekt Red would head everyone with,
"Check this out."
Not gonna lie, this yellow template is my sleep paralysis demon. What I mean to say is, I anticipated this game, but I didn't needlessly hype it up. My expectations for this game were very realistic. I know firsthand that hyping something up and putting unrealistic expectations on it will set you up for a huge disappointment. Did this game meet the expectations I had? More or less, yeah. I expected a great game, I got a great game. But it also has a few flaws that I have yet to discuss. Some might be a little controversial than most. Over here at Deimos, we value honesty, so please keep an open mind and don't get triggered. This review will be separated into two parts. Part 1, which you are watching right now, is the meat of the review, where I talk about the gameplay and the mechanics, my opinions on the story so far, which I've experienced about 50 hours of, and the world building to see if it lives up to its promise. Part 2 will be coming out sometime in the future, and it will mainly focus on the story and if there has been any changes made to the game after this review has been published. Like I said, this game is massive like Witcher 3. Finishing it all in a few days is an impossible task. And hell, I've been waiting for this game like everyone else. I want to take my time and enjoy it too. After I finish all the storylines and side missions, I will give my overall thoughts on the entire story, and it will probably contain spoilers. So if you want to see that video, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, please. Since we don't get review copies, it takes a long time for us to make detailed videos like this, so it would be very helpful if you subscribed. With that out of the way, let's take a deep dive into the world of Cyberpunk, shall we? The dystopian future of Cyberpunk is its main attraction. This game has one of the most stylized and detailed worlds present in gaming. Cyberpunk is not just a game title, it's a real genre. Like steampunk, it has a futuristic shell with the core of a familiar time. If you want to understand what makes Cyberpunk tick, just imagine this. What did people who lived during the 1980s think the future would look like? Quite literally, that's the birth of the cyberpunk genre. It was synthesized during the 80s by combining cybernetics, the science of replacing human functions with computerized ones, and punk, the raucous music and nihilistic sensibility that became a youth culture in the 1970s and 80s. Basically, a dystopian future that tends to focus on low life and high tech. Some of the most influential pieces of media centered on the cyberpunk genre include Blade Runner, Tron, Akira, Cowboy Bebop, The Matrix, Battle Angel Alita, and my personal favorites, Altered Carbon and Ghost in the Shell. If you haven't noticed already, I'm a huge fan of the cyberpunk genre. I didn't grow up in the age of Dungeons and Dragons or The Lord of the Rings. I grew up in the nostalgia for the days of future past, which live within the confines of these works of art. So imagine my surprise when I find myself in a game world where every technological fantasy I had is present in meticulous detail. For me, it's indescribable. Even an attempt at explaining all this would be a foolish task. It's not something you just see. It's something you have to feel. Looking at these neon-soaked cityscapes gives me the exact feeling of exploring the Old Kingdom or walking through the Mojave wastelands. The fact that technology has advanced to such a degree that we can emulate passionately made, lovingly crafted worlds like this will never cease to amaze me. And I know that a few years from now, something bigger and more detailed will come along that will make me say these exact words. But until that happens, the fact that in these days of soulless, carbon-copied, production line open worlds, a game world like Night City can exist, it fills me with hope for the future of gaming. Whew, that got way too serious. God damn, can you be any less of a shill? Can't complain though. It looks good and is filled to the brim with personality. I often found myself taking in the billboards and graffiti, reading data shard magazines ranging from good food recommendations to bomb making tutorials, stand by and overhear funky people with their chrome limbs and neon hair talk about their daily lives. It's a living, breathing world. Starting from the people, cars, bikes, buildings to the guns, food, entertainment, everything follows an exact style and vision. This game genuinely makes me want to buy a 3090. Even though I can never afford it. So there's that. On the world building aspect, Cyberpunk is all that it was meant to be and more. Then let's talk about the character you'll be inhabiting. Codename V. You can play as a male or a female, but since this is Cyberpunk, you can actually say, why not both?
I'm V.
I'm V.
I'm V.
I'm V.
People in the world react differently according to your physique, which is to be expected from a game like this, but in some places it affects pretty strongly. I chose to play as female V, and I must say, I prefer the female voice actor much more than the male one. Not like Gavin Drea did a terrible job, though I feel he plays the tough guy voice way too much, even when it's time to be emotional. I've even heard people slandering the game because they picked the male voice actor and found the voice to be cringy. But Jeremy Lee, who plays female V, has about 4 decades worth of anime voice acting experience, which explains why her performance is so good. She definitely gave it her all for this role. You can feel the passion behind it, which is a good thing. After you've selected your character, you can start off in 3 factions: Nomad, Street Kid, or Corpo. I decided to go with Corpo for my first run. Since Night City is primarily run by money men wearing killer suits and a killer attitude, I felt more inclined to spread my cheeks and welcome our corporate overlords. Better to start above the food chain than the bottom, am I right? In all seriousness, almost every RPG has the zero to hero storyline like Street Kid and Nomad. I was more curious to find out what happens if you start on the top. Now on the topic of story. I'm trying not to spoil much, so I won't describe the plot to you. I'd rather talk about the dialogue and characters. Now, before I describe the dialogue options, I have to mention the skill tree. The skill tree is nothing special if you've been playing RPGs. It has your typical strength, intelligence, perception, stealth, and all that. But there's no charisma tree. That's because in Cyberpunk, every skill once upgraded to a certain level gives you their own special dialogue choices. So if you've put a lot of points in strength, you can end conflicts by flexing your giant muscles. If you put points into reflex, you can pick up small details in conversation. If you've put points into cool, well, you play the 80s anti-hero routine and spout one-liners. This is great. In most RPG games, most notably by Bethesda, if you dump all your special points in the charisma tree, you can smooth talk and Shylock your way through the entire game scot-free. And if you get lucky, you won't need to fire a single shot. Cyberpunk does a genuine innovation with its dialogue in that regard, and that's not all. You'll be meeting a variety of characters in Night City. Thugs, psychos, cyber junkies, store owners, bartenders, slimy corpos, and gangsters, and each one needs a different kind of convincing. Since I picked Corpo, it gave me a huge advantage when talking to corporate people, because I knew the inner workings of their companies. Corpos think that they're above everyone, that they own everything. Well, if they ever have the misfortune of meeting you, you can take a deep dive into their deepest insecurities. I know I can't praise the dialogue enough, but I have to mention something that happened in-game while I was writing this review. There was this one side mission where I had to assassinate a high-ranking gangster, which was no different from the other missions I've been doing up to that point. After finishing that, I went to a story mission, and the mission had me infiltrate a pleasure-based establishment run by that same gang. When I finally had a chance to talk to the owner of the place, I could actually thread the guy by saying, "Oh, remember this guy? You don't want to end up like him, do ya?" And it worked. And that's not the only time I've come across this. There's a whole synergy to the side missions and the main missions, and it melts together in such a way that I've never really seen before. I think the dialogue in this game is spot on. Let's talk about the gameplay now. It's got all the good stuff you know and love. Driving, shooting, hacking. Fuck. I'd say the shooting is kind of average, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. The shooting was on par with other average games I've seen, but that's it. Average. I think there was a scope to take the gunplay to another level here. The gun models are slick, they look amazing, but when it comes to the variety of weapons on offer, it kind of falls flat. Just adding aimbot guns with low damage doesn't really cut it for me. That's not variety. Also, why are there only 3 weapon equip slots? For an RPG, I think there should be at least 4 or 5. If I needed a gun for the situation, I would have to search my bag and swap out a gun that was in one of the 3 slots. If I can do that, why can't I just keep the gun in another slot anyways? I mean, there's only like 5 categories of weapons. I don't see that harming the gameplay. The melee combat I think is okay. Not too in-depth, but I've seen far worse done in other games. I really like the addition of the melee-based cybernetic arm mods, Mantis Blades and Gorilla Arms being my favorite. On that note, cybernetics are freaking amazing. You know how in fantasy stories they describe the heroes having magical supernatural powers equipped with potions, spells, and curses? This is the future tech version of that, and I like it this way. You can have a titanium skeleton, enhanced spinal columns, a computer in your brain linked up to your eyes, subdermal armor, a grenade launcher arm. Here's a suggestion. Get the double jump leg implants as soon as possible. It will turn the game into a bootleg version of Dying Light. At one point, you get a new eye that gives you Terminator vision. You can just look at someone and know everything about him. You can scan your surroundings to look for clues. You can hack into other machines with your mind. That's right, hacking. Go to your room, Watch Dogs Legion. No one cares about you anymore. Cyberpunk got hacking right. You can hack into doors, vending machines, motorized turrets, and cameras, but you can also hack into other people's augments. Got in a tight situation with a big-ass dude wanting to kill you? You can either shut off his eyes, fry his circuits, make his weapon jam, or just pull an Obliviate and wipe his memory. Take your pick. The driving, though, is exactly like the gunplay. It has some really good looking cars, but the driving sucks. And also, where are the flying cars? They were teased before, but I can't seem to find one. And no, this is not a car. The car's handling feels more tuned to controllers as the turning responds quite hard. The driving is super frustrating if you like playing on mouse and keyboard, and the out-of-whack physics system in this game doesn't help that either. The bikes, on the other hand, some run okay, some don't. It's also a mixed bag. Okay, let's balance that out with a good thing. Cars have radios, and the music in this game is god tier. It's flawless, it's perfect. In the world of Cyberpunk, it fits like a glove. Well, what about player customization? Again, it works, but it's lacking. The character customization is very bare bones, especially in the places that it matters. Face, nose, eyes, ears, lips, everything is done by presets. You can't sculpt the face yourself like you can do in other games. You can't change your body dimensions either. And no, you can't customize your hair or makeup once you get into the actual story. This, for the first time, is just disappointing. I don't go that deep into customization myself, but the fact that it's not present when every other RPG game has it is a huge letdown. And because of that, I'm absolutely sure the nudity and genital customization is a PR stunt. There's not even a slider to adjust the length and girth. There's no tangible use for it either. When you get naked in game, you're wearing boxer shorts. Although, to be honest, if you really expected your character's penis to play a trivial role in the game's story, you're kind of a dumbass. But that doesn't forgive the fact that the character creation is very lacking. Although, after playing Honey Select, nothing feels enough. Why are these features so goddamn average? Let's talk a little realistically here. Just because they're average doesn't mean they're bad. That's where the unrealistic expectations come in. Everyone was hyping this game up to be a life-changing experience and give rise to Keanu Reeves, the Lord and Savior of Reddit, to bring forth the virtual rapture that shall wipe out the filth left by the other AAA scoundrels of the gaming industry. Dude, it's a fucking video game. It's a damn good video game, but it's still a video game. Most people, before even seeing the damn game, put unattainable standards on it that can never be achieved. If you expect too much from something, you're gonna be disappointed. I'm not disappointed. I'm having tons of fun with the game. One of the reasons why this review is taking so long is I can't stop playing it. Every time I launch this game, I find something new that totally blows me away. The reason why I like Cyberpunk so much always leads back to the dense world building, which directly affects the mission structure. From the dirty slums to the towering skyscrapers, Cyberpunk takes you places where no game has gone before. This is the same sentiment I shared in my Call of Duty Cold War review. Every FPS is a shooting gallery. The only thing that changes is the gallery. Fresh environments equal fresh gameplay. This game is more akin to Far Cry than GTA, which is something to note. No, you won't be freeing outposts or hacking radio towers. It's like the shooting and movement features that they have in, say, Far Cry New Dawn, transferred to an LA setting. CD Projekt Red has tried some new methods on mission structure than its competitors. Missions are always separated from one another, so you can do one mission halfway and then forget about it, and then pick it back up anytime you want. I have like 20 different quests open right now. The mission NPCs always have something to say. They're not just one-line throwaways that you find in other open world games. They have personalities, actual personalities. And I've not even talked about the side content yet. This game makes you feel like an actual mercenary. You have contractors, or fixers as you would call them, who gives you tasks to do for a large sum of money. You do those tasks and then your reputation starts to increase. And the stuff that you do in the main missions and the side missions, the more street cred you get, the more you start getting referred to people as an efficient worker. People call you up and say, "Oh, I've heard you're a professional. Can you do these jobs for me?" And you just feel like, I really accomplished something. Looks like those 50 hours of my life wasn't really a waste, unless you call playing video games a waste. In that case, I hate you. The reason this game feels so good to me is the personality that all of it has. And I think that's the centerpiece of Cyberpunk 2077. If you're looking for revolutionary gameplay or driving or anything of that sort, I don't think this is really the game for you. But if you're looking for a great RPG game that's in a setting no game has ever tried before, then this is a great game for you. My personal favorite RPG game of all time is Fallout New Vegas. And to be honest, even after playing Cyberpunk 2077, Fallout New Vegas is still my favorite RPG. But that doesn't matter. I set those expectations like, okay, that's a good game, Cyberpunk 2077. I put the same expectations on here. Those expectations were met. I'm happy. I'm happy that I got to experience Cyberpunk myself. If this video is anything to go by, is that trust your own gut, your own opinions. You don't have to hype the game up just because everyone else says so. You can choose to like a game or not. You can choose to be anticipated about a game or not. It's up to you. Form your own opinions and play the games you want to play. And if you choose to play Cyberpunk, well, I assure you, it's a damn good game. Although I would really suggest that you tune into it a few months later because the game's in a very buggy state right now. Once I form the next part of this review, I hope that everything goes smooth. So really looking forward to that. So that's it for me, guys. I haven't slept in 3 days. Thanks for watching Deimos Force. My name is Mehdi Talks and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.